So you guys might remember this crazy situation where this game Lords of the Fallen has a subreddit called Lords of the Fallen. And the Reddit moderators over there made this announcement post that reads, "Announcement, all caps, addressing the CEO of CI Games." CI Games is the developers and publishers for this game, Lords of the Fallen. The Reddit mods continue. "Addressing the CEO of CI Games' politically motivated agenda. Direct links to X, formerly Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram are no longer permitted." And they made this giant rant, this complete freak out. But why did they do that? Well, allow me to show you that, and then we'll return to this, and I suppose read this for anyone who may be out of the loop on this, and also to get a refresher, because this happened, as mentioned, like 2 months ago. Oh, also because it's just hilarious to see how terminally online and freaking weird these Reddit mods are, and because this is the context to how the modern audience got destroyed over the last number of days. It's all adding up. We'll get there. And the modern audience Reddit mods over on that subreddit were mad at CEO Marek Tymiński, CEO of CI Games, for making tweets like this, where he says, "In a medieval fantasy action RPG experience, what do you prefer to choose between? We will follow the final results. Option 1, body type A/body type B. Option 2, male or female. And option 3, none of the above." With almost 50,000 votes, overwhelmingly male and female won with 88.4%. About 2 months later, Marek Tymiński would follow that tweet up with this, saying, "Remember that, male/female wins big time with 88% of votes out of nearly 50,000. DEI agenda lost. The truth wins. If you dispute that, you're in a small minority. Games development needs to stay players first, and this is the way." So yeah, it's really weird how DI policies enforce things like body type A and body type B, saying that's like somehow more inclusive than simply having male or female. Of course, this all then goes back to things like ESG metrics and ESG funding and all that sort of corpo speak disingenuous nonsense. Some more examples of the sort of polls that Marek Tymiński made that upsets the modern audience are things like this. How should attractive lead male characters look in an action RPG? And then another one saying, should lead video game characters be widely considered attractive/aspirational by the vast majority of players? And this one that says, how should attractive lead female characters look in an action RPG? So then going back to this Reddit post from the subreddit for Lords of the Fallen, where the Reddit mods had this to say. Opening thoughts. The CEO of CI Games, Marek Tymiński, is actively supporting and promoting fascist ideology under the guise of catering to the player base. To which even the top comments in this post were calling out the Reddit mods for being terminally online freakazoids. For example, this one saying, "The irony is palpable. You're seriously culling moderators and centering discussion because of a perceived political motivation. You don't realize that it's your own political agenda making you take these actions. It's just a game. It's not that deep." We're going to return to that Reddit post from the mods because the whole thing is just insane, and that was only the tip of the iceberg. But I do kind of want to skip ahead a little bit now, just give you the current news, which is, once again, the modern audience getting destroyed. Because as we can see yesterday, on April 20th, Marek Tymiński had this to say about his game, Lords of the Fallen. 10,000 concurrent players, 18 months after launch. Just a week ago, it was around 500 players. So going from 500 players a week ago to now over 10,000 concurrent. This means the world to us. Thank you to everyone who believed, supported, and stuck with us. We'll never stop showing up for you. Now, the fact is, a few days ago, they released their 2.0 patch. So that's definitely having an effect on the increased player count. But the other fact is that it wasn't just Reddit mods, but modern audience types in general, all across other subreddits and Twitter too, that were trying to slander this game, that were trying to like smear this game, insult this game. You could even like say trying to cancel this game basically because of the stuff that Marek Tymiński was saying on his Twitter account, which once again was simply things like, hey, should we use body type A/B or male or female? Like, which one do you prefer? And those freaking weirdos are like, that's fascism. And so yeah, their attempts to damage this game have failed. And now with the 2.0 patch update, the game has gone from around 500 concurrent players to over 10,000 concurrent players and getting tons of support and top comments like this one. You know, no offense, but I didn't think much of your game at first. I've been kind of burned out by Souls-like and didn't see too much that appealed to me. But you took a stand to actually support what your audience wants and to take care of your customers, even if that means you get hate from a loud but irrelevant group. So I bought the game last night because the industry needs more people like you. Thank you. Another one saying, well deserved. I'm not a huge Souls-like fan due to how punishing the genre can be at times, but this feels like an excellent medium. Beautiful world, crisp gameplay, and the punish/reward ratio feels excellent. That and co-op is a huge plus. Really enjoying it. Okay, now with that quick context, quick overview of how Marek Tymiński had upset people and how the patch 2.0 for Lords of the Fallen is still a massive success despite the modern audience's anger. Well, now we're back over on Reddit, and here's another example of their anger really quick. So this post, for example, from Gaming Circle Jerk saying, Lords of the Fallen Studio CEO is a chud. Oh no, guys, they're calling him a chud. What's he gonna do? The context for that, what's got them upset this time, is Pirate Nation saying, Lords of the Fallen Studio CI games will not integrate DEI elements in their games. And Marek Tymiński saying, exactly, no, we will not. The post getting mad at him and calling him a chud because of that, getting over 2,300 upvotes. But now let's return to the peak brain rot, which was the Lords of the Fallen subreddit itself and the mod team for the Lords of the Fallen subreddit, denouncing Marek Tymiński and calling him a fascist. So we read the title and we read the first paragraph of this already, to which, as mentioned, they accuse him of promoting fascist ideology because of those polls. And then they have this to say. In response to all that stuff, we have removed all CI Games and Hexworks officials from the moderation team. According to my recollection, Hexworks is the dev studio, but that's owned by CI Games. So continuing. However, we want to make it clear that those removed are honorable and decent individuals, and we have nothing but respect for them. Every interaction we've had with them since the game's launch has been nothing short of extraordinary. Unfortunately, this decision affects the wrong people. Our concerns are directed solely at the CEO, and at this time, no one else. Over the past several weeks and months, we have seen a significant increase in hate speech, misconduct, and violations of Reddit whenever content from these platforms is shared. Additionally, we have experienced an influx of users spreading fascist views, both on the subreddit and via modmail. Let us be clear. We do not tolerate any violations of our behavioral rules, nor do we condone or support fascist ideology. Anyone engaging in such misconduct will face a permanent ban. You can find our subreddit's rules here or in the sidebar. Why are we banning these platforms? While the rise in misconduct related to X, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram is a key factor, there are additional reasons for this decision. X, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram now require a login to view content, making it inaccessible to those without accounts. The spread of misinformation, disinformation, and propaganda has significantly increased. These corporations have actively enabled fascism, removed fact-checking measures, censored certain keywords from search algorithms, and silenced communities while allowing harmful rhetoric to thrive. We refuse to support platforms that profit from misinformation, hate speech, and incitement of violence. How will this work? Any direct links to X, Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, whether in posts or comments, will automatically be removed. What about screenshots from these platforms? After consideration, we have decided not to allow screenshots from these platforms either, as verifying their authenticity is difficult. What's next? These new rules take effect immediately. Alternatives to X/Twitter? Twitter? Blue Sky is a great alternative, and many users and outlets have already made the switch. If you have any suggestions for improving this process, feel free to share them in the comments or via modmail. Additionally, if any moderators from other subreddits would like access to auto-moderator scripts we've written, we are happy to share them. Simply contact us via modmail. Aren't these Reddit mods great? They're truly making the world a better place, guys. How virtuous they are. The Lords of the Fallen mod team. We would like to clarify that the developers have only been removed from the mod team. They are still welcome to post on the subreddit, including patch notes, AMAs, and engage in meaningful discourse with the community. This has already been communicated to them. As stated in the post, this decision is not about the developers, but concerns the CEO. Oh, by the way, if you're wondering what this hyperlinks to, where they say, the CEO of CI Games, Marek Tymiński, is actively supporting and promoting fascist ideology under the guise of catering to the player base. This goes to x.com/TymińskiMarek, which is basically just a mirror of his Twitter account, but not on Twitter, instead on xcancel.com. Taking a look at some more of the comments, we've got, do these particular Reddit mods have any clue as to what being a Nazi or a fascist has historically meant? I suggest a bit of introspection on their part. Well, you clearly have no clue what fascism is. If you mods are so offended by a decision, why not just resign from your position? Let other people take your place. Responses to that. Because they lose any sense of a power trip they have in their life. Other comments such as, I'm sorry, what? This is so redundant and pointless. How about turning over moderation duties to someone else then? Why don't you just shut down the Reddit then? Oh, I think I know why. Okay, and now one more example of angry people mad at Marek Tymiński and CI Games, this time a gaming journalist over at PC Gamer referencing Hill, who I believe is the marketing director for CI Games. And he made a statement similarly also saying like, hey, we're not going to use DI policies for our game at our company. And PC Gamer had this to say. Hill didn't explain how exactly he or CI Games defines DI, which has become shorthand slang for things I don't like among some parts of video game fandom, nor did he offer any examples of games that failed due to their social or political agendas. Concord and Dustborn are commonly held up as examples of such, but the reality is that they're just two of literally thousands of games, 19,000 plus new games on Steam alone in 2024, that failed to find an audience over the past year. And in the case of Concord in particular, it arguably just wasn't a great game. We gave it a 45% in our review, and not because we didn't think the cast was white enough. So there's so many terrible points in this article, and I've actually talked about this before, but let's go over this again really quick because it's pretty fitting for the rest of what we just talked about. Okay, so first of all, very pathetic by this journalist to try and pretend like Hill needs to define DI when it's a self-describing acronym, and surely most of the people he's addressing, if not all of them during that panel, know what he's referring to when he's talking about those policies, and it doesn't mean things I don't like. So it's something actually pretty ironic about the journalist getting mad at Hill for not defining that, as the journalist goes on to incorrectly explain what it means, and then essentially tries to make the argument that you can't criticize Concord and Dustborn because there's thousands of new games on Steam, and a lot of those fail to find an audience. Bruh. Concord and Dustborn were some of the biggest failures in gaming last year, especially Concord, and those can absolutely be analyzed and criticized. It doesn't matter, there were a bunch of other new games on Steam. And let me also rephrase too, Concord wasn't just one of the biggest failures last year. Of course, this is one of the biggest failures in gaming history. And then finally they say, we gave Concord a 45%, and not because we didn't think the cast was white enough. It's such a weird thing to say. Whoever wrote this article is like the exact sort of person who would be one of the Reddit mods that we were talking about a moment ago. 2 more paragraphs, and then we'll wrap it up. He did unfortunately lend credence to the ugly and patently false assertion that DI is ruining gaming by, well, that's not really clear either, but that almost doesn't matter. As a hot-button buzzword among angry, reactionary gamers, the DI boogeyman doesn't need a definition. It just needs to stir up lizard brain emotions on the way to generating views. This seems like this person's talking about themselves. Like, lizard brain emotions, this person is making an emotional, nonsensical argument. Like, DI is literally used in corporate and governmental policies. It's not a boogeyman. Like, what the frick? For those not familiar with this, by the way, I'll explain it really quickly. So oftentimes corporations use these so-called DI policies, which stands for diversity, equity, and inclusivity, as a way of making it seem like they're very good corporations and they care about good things, but the reality is they simply use these policies to increase what they have internally that's known as ESG metrics or an ESG score. This then directly allows them to turn around to things such as ESG capital funds and receive significant investments. Big surprise, it all comes down to money. At times, some of these companies that use these things are not even just huge corporations, but smaller companies too. For example, the dev studio behind Dustborn, which according to my recollection was appealing to DEI policies and then even got a grant from the Norwegian government. We've also seen certain quote-unquote diversity consultation firms in the gaming space, which once again try and make it seem like they're these great firms, these great companies, but what they do is they promote this stuff because they receive grants from the government. For example, what we've seen from a number of firms in Canada, which then get direct funding from the Canadian government. Now, of course, make your own opinion on this stuff, and I'm not speaking for, in this context, CI Games and their executives and the issues they may have with it. I'm simply speaking on my issues with it, but I don't like when corpos lie to my face, and I especially don't like when they lie to my face and try to act like they're on some virtuous moral high ground while they do it. So yeah, I thought that was pretty funny. This was more context on sort of people mad at CI Games and, the stuff that they're saying and all that. So we had some examples over on Reddit from the Gaming Serial Jerk subreddit, from the mods over at Lords of the Fallen, and a gaming journalist article. I'm still in a bit of disbelief what I just read there. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. I'm going to wrap the segment up here. Let me know what you think about the anger from these people and how CI Games and Lords of the Fallen are still seeing success despite that, once again, with 2.0 for their game Lords of the Fallen, now getting from 500 concurrent players to over 10,000 concurrent players. Hope you enjoyed my coverage. If you did, please consider liking and or subscribing to the channel. Look forward to seeing you in the comments and in the next one.